Emotional eating. It's a beast of a subject, isn't it? There are a million different paths I could probably go down today to help you overcome your emotional eating patterns. But let's be honest, we'd probably be here all day. So I'm going to start this video by saying that I have a totally free course that walks you through emotional eating one step at a time. In the course, you identify the triggers causing emotional eating, and then you take steps to heal that relationship with food. So after this video, if you're interested in a deeper dive into emotional eating, the free course is linked in the description below. For today, I will be talking all about what emotional eating is, why it's not always as bad as we think, and a few suggestions on what to look out for as well as how to deal with it. In fact, the definition of emotional eating is eating when you're not biologically hungry. Pretty simple, huh? But I want you to think about the last time you ate, not because you were hungry, but maybe because of something else. This is the first thing that we need to understand about emotional eating. It's not necessarily bad, as we might classify it always. In fact, I want you to think about going out for dessert with your girlfriends. You may have just eaten dinner, and maybe you're not craving a dessert tonight. Or maybe you're tired and are just fine without feeling like you need dessert. But hey, it's an opportunity to get together with friends that you enjoy being around. So you go out, you enjoy a little dessert, and you feel completely fine afterward. Or, here's another scenario. Maybe someone just brought in a delicious dish at work, and although you're not technically biologically hungry, you've got to try it, right? It looks delicious. I know these scenarios sound simple, but they're a good example of times when it's just fine to eat when you're not biologically hungry. It's okay to experience emotions of wanting to enjoy life and live in the moment. And this is where we want our relationship with food to be. We don't want to feel guilty about every morsel of food we put into our body, or not feel worried about parties, events, or even a night out with friends because you're afraid you won't be able to control your appetite. Or maybe you want to feel safe at home, enjoying a little dessert without overindulging. Emotional eating, or eating when you're not biologically hungry, is not really an issue when we feel no feelings of guilt, frustration, failure, or other feelings of having no self-control. We run into problems when those negative thought processes start to creep in and make us question every bite of food we consume. Usually after we consume it, right? Then we slowly begin to mistrust food more and more, and subsequently mistrust ourselves around food. This is the kind of emotional eating I want to focus on today. The kind where food leaves you feeling defeated, out of control, unfulfilled. So, before I move on, I want to make it abundantly clear that there's one thing about food that you must understand. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I repeat this statement over and over again. Food is neutral. This means that food has no power over you in any way, shape, or form. Like, good food does not have the power to make you a good person, just as eating a bad food does not make you a bad person. Food is a neutral part of life. It just is. But all too often we give it power over us in ways that can drag us down and make us feel, dare I say, weak, like a failure or someone who doesn't have any self-control or willpower. In fact, think of the last time you had these feelings after eating or binging on food. What words came up for you? I'm going to guess they probably weren't very positive or uplifting in any way. So now that we're beginning to understand that food is neutral, how do we stop letting it control our lives? How do we stop turning to food for comfort, self-worth, and anything else you allow food to be in your life? Because I'm in the business of trying to give you one small action step to work on in each video, training, or anything else I do, today's going to be no different. I am going to teach a simple principle that, on the surface, may seem too simple, but can absolutely be powerful when we put it into practice day after day. Slow it down. Your cure for emotional eating is to simply slow it down. So let me explain. A large percentage of emotional eating is done pretty mindlessly. You experience an emotion, whether or not you're aware of it at the time. You grab the first kind of food that will numb that emotion, and you go to town without even really thinking about it. It's even possible that the food makes you feel better for a time, but you know that eventually it doesn't really make you feel better in the long run. So the first step in overcoming emotional eating is to be aware of what you're doing. I want you to spend some time paying attention to those times that you are most prone to emotionally eat. Is it when you're stressed, bored, hungry, angry, or anything else? Then, what kind of food do you gravitate toward in this situation? Does chocolate soothe a long, stressful day? Do crunchy chips allow you to take out your anger on food? Just pay attention. That's it. If you want to write it down, go for it. You can write down some of the most common experiences that you face. It's very likely that you have repeat offenders. So now that you're aware of what and when you tend to emotionally eat, remember the simple phrase to slow it down. When the binge is about to happen, slow down. Even stop if necessary. Slow down and think. It really is that simple. And truthfully, it's not necessarily about the outcome, but the process you go through. Take a minute to slow down and recognize that this is one of those common emotional eating episodes for you. Then ask yourself what emotion you're responding to. That is all. Just be aware, slow it down, and pay attention. When you're ready, and I mean when you're ready, no one else, you can take action. Remember, healing your relationship with food is a process, a journey. It's taking one step at a time. If you're not ready to tackle that emotion, I don't want you to look at it as a failure. You've successfully identified a trigger for you. That's a huge step. In fact, if that's as far as you get right now, celebrate it. Be proud of the fact that you noticed it before it happened. That's something to be proud of and an incredible first step. Then, when you've slowed it down a few times and feel ready to take action, the next question to ask yourself is, how can I respond to this emotion? You've identified the emotion, you've slowed down the process, and now you're looking at it from a different perspective. By asking yourself this question, you're allowing food to become neutral in your life. You're reminding food that it doesn't have control over you or your emotions. Take a minute to mentally and physically, if necessary, remove yourself from the situation. Slow down and ask yourself, what will help you resolve that emotion that isn't using food? Come up with 1 or 2 ideas and then try them. This could be as simple as physically getting away from the food, taking a walk, a few deep breaths, or maybe even calling someone to talk you through it. It might take some time to learn how to deal with the emotion. And sometimes you might still come back for the food, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It just is, and you're learning. We're all learning. In fact, I've been teaching intuitive eating for many years, and I'm still learning and still working on it. The key is that in order to feel like you're in control of your emotions, you need to first be aware, then slow it down. Take the action that you need to soothe the emotion in a different way. Over time, I promise you will find it becomes a more natural process, just like turning to food immediately is probably your natural process right now. And remember to be proud of even one simple step. Then, will you come back and share your celebrations with us in the comments? I want to hear about it. And also remember that if you need more help with your emotional eating, you can take my free course that walks you through this process in much more depth, allowing you to practice this concept regularly. The class is linked in the description below if you want to go for that. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next time.